Hello, welcome to Alta Herren, discussing all things HEMA and Western martial arts. My name is Hans Jörnlind, and here is my friend Rob Runnekers to introduce this episode's guest. Over to you, Rob.
And thank you very much, Hans. Okay, so tonight's guest is a celebrated martial artist from the Low Countries, from the Netherlands, and this is Mattys Kool. Good evening, Mattys. How are you?
Good evening. Yep, fine, doing good.
Yeah, you just got back from training.
I did. Yeah. We have our trainings on Tuesday evening, so I just came back. Haven't had a chance to shower yet.
Oh, thank you for that. You're not too tired.
No, I'm fine. I'm okay.
You'll make it through. Okay.
I will.
All right. So let's get on. Let's start talking about you. You've had what I suppose could be seen as a quite an unusual childhood. Do you want to tell us about that? How you grew up? What your environment was?
Yeah. I actually was born on a ship, on a boat, and it was an old like inland ship from the Navy. They used it to ship things. And I was born there, and I lived my entire life there. So it was slightly different because one of the things is that you could actually, because it's a saying in Dutch that you're so thirsty you empty the tap, and you could actually, because we had like water tanks in the ship, and we sometimes ran out of water. So so it was you had to take some things into account that other people never did. But it also meant no internet and no television in the beginning.
And you travelled, did you? You used to go around. I mean, this was actually it wasn't a houseboat per se. You were actually travelling around in this as well.
No, I never did. My parents used to, and they used to travel with the boat around sort of the coast of the Netherlands. And when they're planning on having kids, they settled, close to Haarlem, and it's been there always.
And it's actually is it where I've seen them? The same area, or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, carry on.
No, it's actually exactly where you were. They bought a houseboat because the old ship is from 1904, I think. So it was it's pretty old, and at some point we got a sewer system which we didn't have before, and to and to fit the sewer system onto the ship, it was very expensive. So they decided to buy a new like a floating house.
Okay, but it's actually, I mean, it's a fantastic houseboat they've got now. It's a very idyllic setting, isn't it? Very peaceful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you're in this this sort of quite bohemian lifestyle. I mean, your mum's a teacher as well, so very educational upbringing, and you're quite musical as well. And you got into, well, you tell us what you got into.
We always had a lot of instruments at home. My mother liked to present us with things to play with, and there was like a big box of instruments with drums and flutes and guitars and everything. And percussion was the thing I liked most. And then I started playing djembe, like an African drum. And I did that for a very long time. And I joined some bands here and there. And then at some point I started playing guitar as well, and bagpipes actually.
Bagpipes.
Bagpipes. Yep.
Scottish or Cornish or?
No, it was a Czech model.
All right.
So they're fairly simple. So it's just a plain flute and one bass pipe. So it's a lot simpler than the Scottish versions. I did that for a while, not very long. There are actually videos of me and Lopez playing together in Dijon. The first few years we went there.
Really?
Really?
There are. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We will search YouTube to find that later, definitely. But okay, can you tell us when and how you started with HEMA and why HEMA in the first place for you?
I've always done a lot of different sports. I've done judo and track and field and field hockey. I've always been interested in weapons, and the thing is that my parents both are pacifists, and they don't like weapons and fighting and things in general. That has to do with warfare and stuff. So when I did judo, it was like a self-defense sport, so that was okay. And at some point, my girlfriend at the time told me about a sword fighter at her school, and I'm like, that that's awesome. Let me, go there and ask her where he teaches. And she didn't. So, so that was the end of that. And then later on, there was an article in the newspaper about a sword fighter in Heemstede, which is next to Haarlem. And I contacted him and decided to have a look. And that was in 2003, I think. So it's been 12 years now. Cool. I went there and never left. Well,
but why? What is it about sword fighting? You started with judo. You've done a lot of athletic things. That you had a lot of open hand martial arts that you could have really got into and followed. Why swords?
Well, the thing is, I've always been interested in weapons in general, and specifically swords also because it's not really there yet. It's something special. It's different. It's our own thing, and I do like martial arts. I do like fighting and doing sports, but I've always had the feeling that a lot of the Eastern martial arts are so incredibly overrated and so incredibly given way too much attention that I think they sometimes don't always deserve. And there's a lot of cool things, but I found this thing which no one else did, and it really got my interest to to start fighting with the sword, which as a kid I've always wanted. Actually, I contacted the AMEC before the summer, and then during the summer I went camping with a friend of mine, and we went to the forest and cut some sticks and practiced for sword fighting for 2 weeks straight, hitting each other on the head and the hands to prepare for my sword fighting lessons.
What did your parents think of this?
Because it's old and it's historical. They think it's very interesting. So in that sense, it's different from, for example, kickboxing, which is generally much more aggressive. And is for them the fact that HEMA has the historical part to it. Was for them something they find very interesting.
Okay. So you joined AMEC. Was that your first?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're there. And there's obviously a character that we all know, which is Lopez. But leaving him aside for a minute, you meet a guy called Rory Van Noort.
Yes.
So can you tell us about him?
Absolutely. Well, the funny thing was that I had taken a break at some point. I left AMEC for half a year, and during that time he started. So when I came back, because I always used to be the one who was the fastest, the strongest, and I was sort of always on top of the class. But then suddenly I hear about this guy who beat all my records. And who is this dude? Why? Who is this? And then there's this really tall, enormously smiling, gentle giant there, beating my ass. And he always brought a very good atmosphere. He used to do a lot of sports as well. He also did actual sports as a job, and he was an example in many things, and especially for us, he was the one who really took our HEMA sort of to the next sparring level. He really focused on specific training for conditioning and for sparring and all these things. And he really wanted to do it more professionally.
So this guy's here. He's taken your crown. As I guess you were the golden boy before you took this break. How was that meeting him? I mean, was there friction, or did you hit it off with him really well, or how was that?
Well, we used to have sort of training like training couples in class. It was used to be me and Lopez, and then Floris and Rory together, and Sverre and Arnoud. So we had these sort of couples within training. So Rory always trained with Floris, and I always trained with Lopez. So I didn't do much with him in the beginning, and then at some point we traveled together to Dijon, and that's actually really where it took off, because then it was me, him, and Lopez going to Dijon together, and that's when I started spending more and more time with him, and eventually, we'd be over at each other's places, twice a week after training and such. So it's
so you got this great close bond coming on. And we're going to have to mention Michel. I mean, you know, you meet Lopez. What is your impression of this guy?
Well, the first time I saw Lopez, he didn't have the whole beard thing going on. He had like a short beard and long hair. It's very funny because it now moves like the opposite direction. And the thing with Lopez is the first time I saw him, he's a big guy. He's a very characteristic figure when you meet him. And I think the first thing he because I came in the hall and then he goes to me like, so who are you? And I said, I explained I'm Mattys and we've emailed and oh, I thought you're older. I was like, oh, okay. and he hands me this a sharp sword and goes like, this is a sword. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is a sharp weapon. And that was sort of the beginning. And then we started training. And I was very impressed with all the things that he did and all the things that he showed and told. And we did a lot together. I mean, we went on holidays. We did a lot of demonstrations and workshops and events. And yeah, we've been very close. And with Lopez also, I spent years, you know, after training, eating at his place with him and his girlfriend at the time. Really like you know, an extended family kind of thing.
Okay, so you've got this tight-knit group, and obviously Rory is becoming the consummate tournament fighter as well. I remember seeing him in Germany and in Swordfish, and I think in Dijon as well, you know, dominating the scene superbly. And you're training with him, and then tragically he passes away.
Yeah.
Now, how did that? I mean, obviously there's the immediate shock. I mean, how did that affect you and the club?
Well, it was of course an enormous shock for us because none of us saw it coming. Sort of that he wasn't happy with what was happening, and especially for me and some of the other guys who were in the fight team, we suddenly lost like the biggest asset in training because we had like a separate sparring training, and me and Rory would run the spar class, and suddenly there was this gap that no one seemed to be able to fill, and it did bring us closer together. I mean, the people who were still left, but it was very strange. It took me a good year to get over the fact that, you know, the first Swordfish without him, the first Dijon without him, the first, you know, all those events you have to go through them, but now without him, and that, you know, that was difficult, to be honest. And also for me personally, me and Rory had been talking about, you know, starting our own school for a while already, and, you know, nothing really planned, but just like discussing like what, you know, if we had our own school, what would we do, and kind of go in that direction. And so when he passed away, that whole thing fell apart. So that was for me personally an enormous setback to what I was expecting to, you know, to happen.
Okay, well, I mean, on a slightly happier memory about Rory, you told me several times about when you'd spar against him and you'd have a look on his face. Yes. I wonder if you could just describe that.
It was because he had a silver mask, so you don't always see anything through it. But the only thing you'd see was this enormous grin, and it really went from ear to ear. And there'd always be the grin. And the thing is, I knew that if he grinned like that, he could hit me. And and he knew that I knew. So there was this funny chemistry where, you know, we were sort of circling around and then we get closer, and then this suddenly goes, zip, and I'm like, oh shit. So it was and especially that smile. That's also at his funeral when I gave a speech to everyone there. That's also one of the things that I mentioned, is that the thing that I remember most is he always smiled, and it was always this massive smile, and you could see it through his mask. Yeah, that was the thing that in sparring has always been stuck with me the most.
Okay, well, I'm going to pass over to Hans now. He's got a few more questions here.
Yeah, you mentioned that you and Rory had talked about starting your own club,
Yeah.
and eventually you did that. You decided to move away from Amek to follow
Yeah.
your own path. Can you talk a little bit why, what happened there? What brought you to that point, and how did you do it?
Yeah, the thing was that within AMIC, I was teaching a lot of classes. I used to be responsible for the kids class and for the Amsterdam group and sparring class. And at some point, I didn't do kids in Amsterdam anymore, but I still did a lot of teaching in regular classes. Whenever Michel was in at events or another country, um, I would do the classes. And apart from that, I organized the tournaments and the open days and all these other extra things. So I was doing a lot for HEMA and for the club. Although I noticed that some of the things that I wanted to reach as a HEMA practitioner or as a martial artist were things that I wanted to do in a different way, or I have slightly different goals or a different way to get to those goals, if you know what I mean. And I decided that I stayed a long time with Amek, and I put a lot of energy into it, and I got a lot of things back from it. So that's absolutely there. But I thought it was time for me to spread my own wings and become more than I was at the time.
Okay. But you're still going to teach, I know, in Italy with Lopez actually.
Yeah.
Together, like the instructor together. Do you have any concerns about that? Do you have what?
No. Well, the thing is that I mean, of course, if you split up, it's never the best thing to happen for people who aren't making the decision themselves. And I don't think Lopez. I mean, he agrees with it to some degree, but he rather would have me within AMEC, I think, as part of the whole AMEC family. But we split on good terms, and within the Dutch within the Dutch HEMA community, we work together, and there's no animosity between the two clubs. And then a while ago, I was contacted by some Italians, and I chatted with them for a while, and then they got a message to both me and Lopez, like, "Hey guys, we would like you two to teach at our event." So I go to the private chat. They go like, "Did you know that I no longer train with Lopez?" Like, "Oh no, we did not know that." Which no, it's not a problem, because as I said, we can work together, and we've done that for 12 years. So I don't see the point of not being able to. And we both teach our own workshops, and then we have also a shared workshop. So basically, I'm responsible for my own workshops, and then we do probably a Dutch dagger workshop together. Which I assume will just go like it always did.
Cool.
Well, I noticed at Swordfish as well that I think you were in one of the long sword pools, and there was I think a protest had gone up or something had happened, and Michelle was immediately up there wanting to coach. She was there, wanting to look out for you. Which I thought was it was more than just a gesture, I'd say. So there was certainly still a friendship there.
Well, that's the thing also, and as I said, we've had a very tight relationship in a way. And there's also something that sometimes came in the way of how we did things. That we were instructor and student. We were both instructors. We were demo partners. But also, I went a lot to, especially when he was with one of his former girlfriends. I ate at his place twice a week usually. So it also was sort of a family thing where he saw me as a son, and especially as a HEMA son, and that of course still exists. And that's also what he said in Swordfish, is that he felt bad that he had to teach during the tournament, so he couldn't see my fights, and of course also Oscar fights and the other AMF people. But he still cares, of course.
Yeah, and as I say, he was there looking for you as well. So okay, well, you mentioned tournaments. This year in particular, you've got a very much a growing reputation on the tournament scene. Had great success in the Nordic League. Obviously, one of the main problems, which I know, is to do with nerves. And pre-tournament, you're grinning at me. Pre-tournament feelings. Let's talk about your nerves. How do you deal with it?
Well, sometimes I don't. That's the problem. It's also Anina knows that when I'm getting in my tournament mode and just after the fight, there's no point in trying to ask me other things, because I won't be answering them. It depends a little bit on the tournament, but if I really get into my zone, I make sure I always go running in the morning before tournament. And that's something that Rory told me, because your body needs like 3 or 4 hours to properly wake up. So if you're fighting at 8, you should wake up at least 3 hours earlier. If you want to properly like wake up. And that's something that I still try to do. Is that if I have like early fights, I'll wake up early and go for a run, and then I start preparing. And normally I do that in like sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt. And the moment I start changing and I put my cup and my shin guards and my my pants and socks on, that's when physically I feel that I'm getting ready for the tournament. And then usually I start doing a warm up with my music on. And then it's just me. I look at people, but I tend to focus on my own thing and just do what I feel like. And when I listen to music, there's basically 3 types of music I then use. It's either drum and bass, hardstyle, or Frenchcore, which are music. It's something that most people will probably not like, but it's very happy and very active. So it's exactly the tempo, especially Frenchcore. It's the tempo that I need for my warm up. It's quite fast. It's and then but it's still happy, so it doesn't make me aggressive. It makes me active, but not like I'm still clear in my mind.
This year, you had a great success in the Nordic League, and observing it from the outside, you seemed very relaxed. And I know that you were putting pressure on yourself for the later competitions like ILHG, like Swordfish. Was there a change at some point, or was it the nature of the competitions? Was there something that happened?
Yeah, the thing is that when I was doing the Nordic League events, I had done pretty okay in tournaments, but I wasn't at the top yet. And after the Nordic League tournaments, I noticed that, and it's more of a luxury problem than anything else. But I noticed that whenever people were talking about good fighters, my name suddenly was in there. And there's always like people have a certain list of names that they mention when they talk about specific types of fighters or specific things that people do in tournaments. And suddenly I was amongst those fighters, and that was something that to me was very strange, but also meant that I suddenly had the feeling that I had to do really well. Whereas for the Nordic League, I was sort of still. I mean, of course, people knew I was a decent fighter, but I felt less pressure because I had less expectations of myself, and I had the feeling that other people also expected less. And now that when I won the Nordic League. And Purple Heart as well, I suddenly had the feeling that now I have to, at least end in the top 4, because otherwise I'm not even worth mentioning to what I did. And it's stupid, because if you make top 8 in Swordfish, that's pretty damn good. Even top 16 is pretty good. But personally, I had the feeling that I had to, both for myself as well as for everyone around me, as much as they might not even care, I had to do this. And that's something that didn't help. I mean, the ILHD is a whole story on its own. It's a whole different thing.
Let's go into that. Or
yeah, sure. The ILHD was an event organized by the AMEC, and we had the 3rd year this year, or they had the 3rd year, and I was responsible the first 2 years for a very large part of the organization. Together with the whole team, but a lot of it was done by me, both from tournaments and the invitation fighters. And the first year, one of the biggest helps was Marcus Arino, and the second year was Oscar Termos, who did an enormous part of the organization. But this year, since I wasn't part of AMEC anymore, I wasn't part of the ILHG. But they do use the halls where I work. It's at my school. So I offered to be the hall manager, so I would take care of the hall, I'd take care of things there, and then, so then they could use the halls, because otherwise they wouldn't be allowed to use the halls. And then it was really strange for me to be at an event that used to be my event, and I used to be proud of the event, and I offered to do the same thing as I always did, and they declined my offer, which is fine. I mean, they had other people organizing, and they did a good job, but for me it was still strange to be in my own hall with an event that used to be my event, not doing something. It was very strange. I wanted to help, but no one asked for my help because they had other people doing stuff, and that just completely messed up my head. On the Friday, I lost all my fights for the single-handed, and I lost them like bad, like really bad. And then on the Saturday, it went better, but still, it was just such a mindfuck. It was very strange.
Okay, Hans.
Yeah, I was wondering a little bit. I mean, you have a growing reputation. You have a big reputation for being a really really good, tough tournament fencer. Um, but do you think that that kind of tournament success and the people, they think that people see you as just a tournament fencer or something? Do you think that your success overshadows your work as a fencing teacher in some way or something?
Yes, I think so. The thing is also that I used to teach a lot of workshops at events, but then for dagger, for example, I did a lot of dagger workshops, and there's not many people teaching like dagger workshops. And because of tournaments, I get asked to come to other events more, which is great. But then it's also because I'm a good fighter, not per se because I'm a good teacher. And I do hope that when I teach saber or dagger or longsword, that people see that I don't only manage to score the hits in tournament, but I can also explain people how that goes and why that goes, and help people to achieve their goals within the workshop. So it does overshadow it a bit. It's not too much though. I think it's still a good balance.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, aside from your workshop success, you've also you've organised tournaments. You've alluded to working at ILHG. Yeah. You've worked well with me at Swordfish as well. I mean, is this a large part of your career, or what you're hoping to do more of?
Yeah, because I think also I have the first tournament I organized was for the AMAC, and that was in 2006. And the tournament I organized was pretty much the whole. I mean, I was convincing Lopez to do a tournament for like a year or two, and the whole setup was exactly like we have tournaments now. And I'm now looking back at it, I'm actually pretty proud of how that went, because we had 3 mats with referees, judges with black and white paddles. We had a table with a timekeeper, scorekeeper, and pools, elimination tree, the whole shebang. And that's also what I wanted to do, is that I wanted to organize a tournament, and coming from other sports, I wanted to be able to I wanted to look professional. And I think if you organize things professionally, people will take it more seriously, and they'll take the whole thing more seriously. Whereas if you just screw around with things, it's fun, and it can still be great. But I think we should take it to the next level, both for people within the community as well, people from outside who look at it.
One of the things you've done when I was at ILHG last year, one thing that I thought was very good was you were very keen on promoting the work of the crew and the judges. And I know it's something that Hans and I are quite passionate about, but do you want to just spend a moment talking about that?
Yeah, that's also something that I have to credit Lopez for. I think it's very important at events that we actively thank the judges and the referee and the table crew, and that's something that people often forget. And something we did at ILHG, we had these small banners that every judge got a banner thanking them for their help, and that was done publicly, like we did all the prizes, the whole prize ceremony for all the winners of the tournament. We did the whole prize ceremony for the judges and referees, and gave them those little banners. And that's also, I have a whole bunch of medals from AMAC tournaments that I organized. So the organization, the referees and judges, they got a medal for their work within the tournament. And that's something that I think as a community we should do more, is because it's so easy to bitch about people when they make mistakes, and especially with judges. Of course, judges make mistakes. Anyone makes mistakes, but you only notice it when they do, because if they do their job properly, that's what they're expected to do. And if they make a mistake, suddenly you notice, and people go like, "Oh, but this judge is that," and complain, and it's very difficult to actively thank the people who do a good job. And I think that's something that will keep people interested in doing judging in general, whereas the bitching doesn't.
And do you think then that, I mean, is this part of a malaise that's going on, that there's too much focus on the tournament fighters? Is there too much celebrity in that, or is that not really a problem?
No, I don't think it's a problem. I think people now expect too much of judges. I think the fighting reached new levels really fast in the last few years. If you compare the fighting 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if you look at what people do now in tournaments, the level has gone up enormously. The speed's gone up, the intensity has gone up, and that's all great. And because of that, we have a lot of gear, and that's something people also forget when they complain about, or they mention the fact that tournaments, take away the art. There wouldn't be half the amount of gear that we have now, to be able to do all this if it wasn't for the tournament scene. But because of all that, the whole fighting got a lot better, and the judging got better as well. But I don't think the judging is keeping up with the rising level of the fighting. And especially if you get more different weapon disciplines, I think we should be way more careful with training people specifically for disciplines. Because most people train for longsword, which is something they understand. If they see something that happens, they can figure out how that happened, and therefore it's easier for them to deduct who should get points. Whereas if you, especially with rapier and dagger, I noticed that myself as a longsword fighter, I have more trouble judging rapier and dagger because I don't completely understand what happens as good as I do with longsword. And I think for the judging crew, that's something that we as community need to be careful with. That we need to up their level as fast as the level of fighting. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can you tell us about the charity event that you have coming up?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to.
Cool.
On the 12th of December, so it's still coming. I'm organizing a charity tournament, and the idea is that it's been fought with either two sticks or single sticks. The fighters can choose if they agree on one weapon, they fight with that weapon. Everyone who joins pays €15, and everyone who comes to watch has to pay a certain amount as well. And there's minimum. If people want to pay more, that's fine. And all that money goes into one big jar. And then I have, for example, a guy in Germany who sent me money because he liked the idea but couldn't come himself. So he wanted to show his support by sending a certain amount of money to add to it. And then the money will go to a charity, and which charity is decided by the winner of the tournament. So the guy who wins the tournament decides which charity. So you're fighting for your good cause. If I have something with an animal shelter, and my opponent has something with childcare, or for example, the last time I organized it, it was the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So you fight for the good cause. You fight for your charity.
Cool.
And
very good. Cool.
And to where can they send this? Where can people watching this send any donations if they want to?
Well, I think it's easier if people contact me either through Facebook or through the HVN page, and then I can send the details as to how exactly. But
what's the web page of that?
Sorry.
What's your web page?
My webpage, historischvrijvechten.nl.
Yeah, but what's your webpage, Teach?
That's my webpage. I think contacting through Facebook might be easiest because I'm not sure if people understand my Dutch throat gurgling.
I'll put a subtitle up, and I'll put a link up on the YouTube video.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we've got a couple of extra questions for you now. I think we've pretty much covered most of the HEMA stuff and your life. So I think there is a really big event that happens in Swordfish. And it wasn't that the judging team and the tournament managers were awesome. In addition to this, you did a little something on live stream.
Yeah, just a little thing. For me to tell, or you go?
I think you should tell it.
You should tell it. Well, I'm pretty sure most people have seen it on the live stream because I'm pretty sure that the entire HEMA community watches the live stream. But I proposed live on the mat of Swordfish to Annelina, my beloved girlfriend, fiance now, and I'll keep it short. But 5 years ago we met at Swordfish. She joined my dagger class, and we did some dagger in the class, and I was instructing together with Lopez there. And then later that day, I was walking towards the room that we slept in, and she came out with a bunch of the pins, and they were heading to the sauna. But Anina didn't want to go to sauna, so she used me as an excuse because she started chatting with me to not go to sauna. And so we started talking dagger things, and we were like moving and doing things in the hallway. And I'm like, well, let's get some daggers and go upstairs to the mat. And so we had some space. So sure, we took the daggers, went upstairs.
The old dagger ploy. Yes.
Maybe let me show you my dagger. But we spent, I think, like 2.5 or 3 hours on the mat doing dagger techniques. And And then yeah, and then I met her brother, who was yelling from the top of because you had the metal shorters, and all the way in the top of the window of the stairs there's some space, and I knew she was Finnish, and I've heard Swedish and Norwegian and Danish, and I figured it sounds the same thing. And then suddenly Christian goes from top of the stairs, Rakupaki Hakataka, and I go, what is this? So that was very interesting. But and anyway, so Annie and I we kept in contact like I did with a lot of HEMA people, and throughout the years we met at other events as well, and then 3 years ago we actually got together. She's whispering 3.5 years.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's in the kitchen.
Well, get her to wave. Come on.
Come on, you have to wait. Anyway, so she's coming, but so we our whole relationship was evolved around HEMA events, and especially Swordfish were very special for us. So
hi.
So question for you: you meet this beautiful girl, and you're with her, and you meet her brother, Christian.
Yes. Yes, the first thing he told me was, "You are peace. Now we fight."
Surely there were some danger signs there, because various people have gone drinking with Christian and not been found yet. Did this not worry you that you were actually going to have him as your brother-in-law, the uncle to your prospective children?
Well, at that time, not yet. No. That was one of the crazy Finns who had a drinking song, which went like nut 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 nut, which means now, and then they go drink. And that was how I knew Christian as part of that Finnish crew. And the more I met him, the more I learned about his actions, which is very funny. At some point in Dijon, I don't even remember which year, but I was talking to Anina and sitting with I think Marcus and someone else at the table, and suddenly Christian goes like, and he licks my ear out of nowhere and walks away, and like, what's happening with this? So
the father of your prospective bride has basically a house full of dead animals and weapons.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. No worries about that. There's no sort of blank plinth with Mattys written on it or anything like that.
Haven't noticed, but it might be there. No, I think I'll be fine. Maybe one day I'll go hunting with him. I don't know.
Cool.
You good bonding.
Yeah.
Okay, Hans, do you have any additional questions?
Well, I have one question actually. You know a lot of people in the HEMA communities. You have met like thousands of fencers all around the world. So there must be like someone that you would like to slap really hard in the face. This is an important question for Altenherren. So if you could choose one person to just give a really hard smack right over the face.
Well, the thing is, what I would like to add is that there's also a bunch of people I would like to punch in the face. Not a gentle slap, just like there's some people who deserve it. If I had to go for like a proper slap, I'd say Hellrock. It's called Hellrock.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Interesting choice.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mattys, Kool, thank you very much for your time, and hope to be seeing you soon. Cheers.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.